Nigerian Bar Association has entered a new chapter with the election of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Onyekonsola Badejo Okusanya, as its president-elect, making history as only the second woman to lead the association in more than 9 decades and the first in 34 years. Our victory, however, has been overshadowed by fierce objections from difficult candidates who allege widespread technical failures, voter disenfranchisement, and serious flaws in the electronic voting process, raising questions about the credibility of the election and the standards of internal democracy within one of Nigeria's most influential professional bodies. As the NDA prepares for a new leadership era, the challenge now is not only governing the bar, but also restoring confidence in its electoral processes and preserving its moral authority as a leading voice on the rule of law, constitutionalism, and democratic accountability. Of course, it was just an election that held in 24 hours. A lot of people were saying, is INEC watching how this election is going on? If this number of people are doing election in an electronic format, although there are a lot of controversies around it, but this is the moment where the election was called and announced.
Mrs. B polled 12,317 votes, representing 47.18%. With that result, she stands elected as the president of Nigeria.
That's the moment when the chairman of the electoral committee announced the result, because the percentage of our victory, the total number of our votes, the voting duration was 24 hours. The voting measure was electronic voting. She will be taking over from Alpha Moshigwe as an SAN for a 2-year term from 2026 to 2028. But the president of the bar, Mr. Alpha Moshigwe, also spoke after the election result was announced.
The members of the ECMBA stood firm. Every effort to derail this process failed. But I will say to the men and women who today have been elected to take over from us, and by the way, we can't wait to hand over to them, that as we celebrate, know that this is a trying time for the bar. Many persons may yet go to grave extents to rubbish the association and the electoral process. It is a time for healing, and it is a time to reach out to those who lost, to those who are hurting, and not only those who contested, but those who supported them.
After Mrs. Priscilla Akwe is now Onyekonsola Badejo Okusanya, who's made history in the history of one of the oldest and the strongest professional association in Nigeria, the Nigerian Bar Association. I'm being joined by the president-elect of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mrs. Onyekonsola Badejo Okusanya, SAN. Congratulations, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Yo.
How does it feel?
Good.
It was a hard-fought one, isn't it?
It was. And an instruction in politics, in life, but a humbling experience, because when you put yourself out there trying to convince colleagues that you have what it takes to lead them, and then somehow or the other you are able to achieve that, and over 12,000 people put their trust in you, cast their votes for you, that's humbling. And I'm not unmindful of the huge responsibility that lies ahead, and the fact that I have to justify the trust that has been reposed in me by them and others.
You're also quashing some history, right? You, as a second, and those who say Mrs. Priscilla Akwe, yes, the first, but not through an election, but you a proper election now, they brought you into office. What does this mean for women within the Nigerian bar, as women as a professional in this country? And I dare say, the other day I make this example, at the Afebabala University, at the Faculty of Law, there were 19 first-class graduates in that class. And guess what? All of them are women.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've met some of the, I would say a few times I've led my class academically. It's women that will give you a run for the money. But when it gets to practical, getting to the field, you don't find women. They are relegated to the background. What do you think this victory means for the women in Nigeria?
Okay. So first of all, let me correct a misconception. While though factually accurate, the nuance might sort of suggest something different. Dame Priscilla Queer she ran an election for first vice president of the association. And she ran against two very strong candidates at the time, Komi Ishola Oshobu and the late both late Mr. Shegun Onokoya. And she won as first vice president. Then the Attorney General, the president of the bar at the time, went to become Attorney General. That was the late Sir Clement Akpambo. And then she stepped into the shoes for a few months until the tenure was over. So she did run an election. She did win an election, just not as the president, yes. Yeah. And she did then try to run and probably would have won, except that there was a fiasco, interestingly enough, in Port Harcourt 35 years ago. And so she didn't become the president, and the bar went into comatose.
So that's why I said,
yes,
for a woman who ran an election as an NBA president, you are the first.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, first to be
but
elected.
the second to be named as NBA president.
Female
NBA president.
Absolutely, yes. And so what does this mean for women? You know, everywhere I go, Sheung, I find women, young women, older women, who say to me that this aspiration, this bold aspiration has inspired them. Someone told me in Yola that because I'm running, she feels as if she can do anything. That's the kind of feeling that permeates across the female gender, because females in professional settings are kind of like a triangle, right? At the bottom, you find loads and loads of women. As you rise higher, whether it is by cultural nuances or social responsibilities or what have you, the demands of the job being balanced with family life can often be extremely demanding. So for those type of people who are ordinarily high achievers, you just said 19 first-class graduates, all female, you may find out that barely a fraction of them end up at the very top. Not because they're not capable, but because the environment
so
doesn't quite
for women.
Toxic and difficult to navigate. Even when it's not toxic, it's difficult to navigate, particularly when you're fulfilling social obligations.
There are a lot that you need to contend with after the election when your tenure officially starts. Part of the immediate thing that you need to contend with is the fact that there are a lot of talks about who you are, that you are the sister to the Minister of Trade. They're feeling that you are the government candidate. You are, Egbe Amofin did not support you. Alpha Mosugwe wanted to impose you. The election was rigged, disenfranchisement. There's so many allegations that come to the inference that you were rigged into office. How does it come to you?
Well, first of all, it's not very pleasant to imagine that people think that unless an election is rigged in my favor, I can't win an election, so that's not very pleasant. But on a serious note, you know, unfortunately, we've had a trust deficit in the association with regards to our election, whether right or wrong. Perception is reality. So there's a perception that the elections are rigged. And to that extent, that trust deficit needs to be dealt with. Now, as for this election cycle, I'm grateful for the scrutiny that it came under. Because right-thinking individuals will understand that this election cycle could not have come under this much scrutiny and yet be compromised. So I can beat my chest. And I have said that if need be, I'll subject myself to a post-election audit, because I also have no desire for my win to be delegitimized in any way. I think what we need to do as a bar is come together and have an honest conversation about how we want to conduct our elections in a way that engenders the most confidence for the most people. Something that we actually talk about and devise a means by which our electoral process will be respected.
Let me take a break. This is not the conversation about how you want to lead the bar tonight.
Yeah.
And I promise you that it's going to be few words. I know you said you're tired, you've lost your voice. I'm going to respect that.
Thank you.
I will leave that to the next time, what democracy, what the bar will represent. But you've got to have a word for the likes of Mr. Akimboro SAN, Are Akimboro, and of course, Mr. Yemi Akongbe, on what these raids mean. They say it's a sham, it's a disgrace to the bar, but you've got to have a word for them, isn't it? But that's going to be after this break. We're going to break. We'll be right back, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. Our closing moment now with the NBA President-elect, Mrs. Onyekonsola Badejo Okusanya. What are your final words to those who lost out in this race? They're very unhappy.
Well, my final words are that in every contest, there's a winner and there's a loser, or losers as the case may be. But we move on. I understand the issues that have informed some of their thinking, and I think we should just come together, right? Accept the outcome and then work together to build a better bar. Incidentally, I've always had a very cordial relationship with my co-contestants. I made that a point, because I made up my mind I didn't want to lose any friends or make any enemies from this race. As hard as that was sometimes to keep, I managed to keep that. So I have every intention of reaching out to them, every intention of seeking their support. Well, I mean, there's nothing that cannot be solved by dialogue. So perhaps if I reach out to them, we have a conversation, we might be able to resolve issues without resorting
the bar is very divided. Is your plan and the major agenda to unite the bar?
Absolutely. It's the only way we can move forward. It's the only way we can move forward. And we just must have a greater sense of ownership. Because if we continue to, in a sense, wash our dirty linen in public, right, and not show a good example to the rest of society, then we don't have any moral justifications. Right. So yes, uniting the bar is a priority.
Mrs. B.
Yes, sir.
Onyekonsola Badejo Okusanya, SAN, NBA President-elect. Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
And I wish you the very best.
Thank you, Sheon.
Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sheon Okimale. A blessed night.